Hello everyone, welcome to another fully live Friday episode of Hacking with Friends. Today we have our good co-host on Michael 4, Stefan. Stefan, thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
So today we have a lot of stuff to go over, and typically on Fridays we like to answer any questions that come up during the chat. We like to go over security things that have happened, of which there have been a lot this week, and we also like to go through and see if there's any tools that we can tell you guys about that seem really interesting or that I might be considering using on the next episode of Nullbyte or Hackbyte or whatever other show that I'm considering using them on. So we also had some shout outs last time from the creator of some of these tools who was very excited to see their stuff on our show. So that's why we do it. We love giving exposure to new developers who are working on interesting projects. And it was really cool to see that, yeah, they gave us a little shout out for that. So hello to Zam. Hello to everybody in the chat. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to shout them out. And if we have a little chance between the topics we're covering today, we will try to get them answered. It looks like Zam says we lost the feed. So hopefully that gets fixed. But if you can see us, then please let us know so that we can continue. We have had some internet issues in the past, so if that happened again, yeah, please let us know. So I'm going to slowly continue on as though everything is working because I have no way of knowing if it is or isn't. But in general, we're going to be talking about the Exchange attack that happened last week, a fair amount today, because that's probably one of the most newsworthy things out there. Stefan, you've looked at this a little bit. It's probably not totally your area of expertise, but yes, the Exchange attack. What do you know about that?
The Exchange attack. Was that the thing with Parler? Or am I mixing up?
No. So the Exchange attack was the Microsoft Exchange attack where anybody who had an on-premises Microsoft Exchange server basically was potentially exploited last week during a mass attack on this zero-day exploit.
Yeah, sorry, you mentioned we talked about Microsoft Exchange. I was confused before too, because Microsoft Exchange is just not ringing a bell. I have no idea what it is, just some corporate stuff, right?
It's how most businesses run their email servers if they're using Microsoft products.
Yeah.
So if we switch over to my screen real quick, this is something that Zam brought to my attention, and we were talking about this last time, where the sheer number of victims here really alarmed people because these are often small or medium-sized businesses, but also local government entities and other NGOs, think tanks, defense subcontractors. These are people that have, for security or contractual reasons, their main email server on premises. And if that is the case and they didn't patch it in time, then it is extremely likely that they've been breached. Now, the problem here is a lot of these people won't be getting around to patching their stuff anytime soon. So there's a couple very sensitive targets that are obviously being directly targeted and exploited within this kind of otherwise scattershot attack. The problem is that there's now multiple proof of concepts going around that allow you to execute whatever code you want on these infected systems. The last time we had these sorts of conditions was right before WannaCry. So that was right when we had the Eternal Blue zero-day develop enough public proof of concepts that anybody could begin to launch attacks against these infected or vulnerable servers. And now we're seeing kind of the same thing happen with this Exchange attack, because it looks like there is now a ransomware attack called DearCry that is doing some pretty typical ransomware behavior starting around March 9th. So it looks like using the proxy logon vulnerability, this ransomware is able to, using public key cryptography, encrypt every single file that matches one of these file extensions. This is pretty much every useful file extension. So if you have a file on your system that matches one of these file extensions, it'll go ahead and encrypt it using a public key, use .crypt extension, and then it'll go ahead and give you a unique hash that you have to go and contact an email address in order to get the key to unlock your files, if you drop them a $16,000 ransom. So that's a pretty serious attack, and this is, again, kind of the worst case scenario. If there's a public proof of concept going around about this, which we'll talk about in a little bit, then the worst case scenario is that this gets turned into a ransomware attack. And that seems to be what is happening here. So That sucks. And it looks like the worst case scenario for this kind of situation is now actually unfolding. So my regrets to everybody that has to deal with incident response, and also any companies that are using an on-prem Exchange server. At this point, you are going to be busy. So there's a lot of different threats out there that are trying to exploit this. And please, if you haven't already, if you know someone who hasn't already, please make sure all this stuff is updated, because it is going to become very expensive very soon if it is not. So along those lines, I also wanted to point out, oh God, what if it won't change? All right, well, my computer's partially frozen, so let's move away from that while it works itself out. But we're also going to talk about some other 0 days that were notably stolen and used by an adversary. And there was some excellent research done. Oh yeah, Chrome is like entirely like frozen. And basically, like, yeah, it was a zero-day exploit that was written by the Equation Group that was then stolen by China and used repeatedly in order to exploit victims, I think all the way going back to like 2015. So this was a pretty crazy example of why hoarding zero-day vulnerabilities isn't always a good idea. So yeah, pretty interesting and very, very spooky that nation states are basically stealing these zero-day exploit chains from each other and reappropriating them. And because these are secrets, it's kind of interesting that, you know, there's no way that you're going to be able to really do anything about this if your government like has one of these exploits and then happens to just decide that, hey, like, I'm going to use this so often that another adversary picks up on it, starts using it too, and now my own citizens are vulnerable. This is like a very valid criticism of like hoarding these zero-day oh my God, my Chrome is still crashed. That's amazing, because it also disables my screen from sharing. Doing it live. But yeah, like this is just an example of how like zero-day vulnerabilities are really a dangerous thing, and it can make it so that if you are relying on your own government to protect you, often they don't tell vendors like Microsoft about these things, even when the cat's out of the bag. And it can be years later that, for example, American businesses are basically vulnerable to an exploit the NSA knows about, but they just don't want to give up because it gives them such an advantage. So Stefan, I need you to talk while I fix my Chrome tab that has every single topic we were trying to present today.
Yeah, your picture froze too, at least on my end.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm too scared to reload the page because I don't want to drop out. Anyway, I have two things to say. First of all, about the exchange thing, it occurred to me and I looked it up, and my university uses that.
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's
So
really interesting. So I think that a lot of schools, like that's just a good example of like what kind of organization would actually use this. Because people are like, who would have an on-prem Exchange server? It basically like takes a lot of resources to do it. Like, and it doesn't make sense for most businesses, but it seems as though like, yeah, like that's just something that a lot of smaller schools or businesses end up having to do.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but kinda. The thing is, we had a self-hosted round cube thing, and then for some reason they decided this is annoying or something, and merged their email infrastructure with one of like the next bigger university. And so we like share servers with them, and they use like all Microsoft stuff. So for me, like I don't understand why they did that because it is not getting better. Like it was fine before. Instead, there was a bunch of annoying changes because they switched, and now it's a complete Microsoft login, and it's just why you had open source self-hosted stuff before. This was fine.
And now,
But
yeah, now they're vulnerable because they're using this like Microsoft
Yeah.
stuff, which is so commonly used in like big business and stuff. It's very like targeted for exploitation, and now they could be lumped in with this big ransomware attack. By the way, my whole computer has crashed. I have no control to close any applications. So sorry, Stefan can know. It's actually amazing that Stefan can even hear me because we're doing it through the supposedly crashed. This computer costs more than a car. So if you're considering a MacBook Pro, just realize that you'll always have this conversation where you're just like, wow, you cost more than a Honda Accord. Like, why are you acting this way? But anyway, I think you guys can still hear me. So unfortunately, Stefan, I might have to lean on you a little bit for screen sharing because otherwise I'll have to literally restart my computer during the middle of the stream.
That's okay. Send me links and I'll open them.
Oh, I can't do that either. So instead, you'll just need to
but
go onto Twitter.
your helper can, right?
Oh yeah, Michael can. That's a great idea. Oh, sorry, the unknown helper can do so. But also, if you just go to my Twitter timeline, most of the stuff is there too. One,
How do I get to your Twitter timeline?
you just type in my full name. It's twitter.com/.
Okay, what you want to show what you retweeted, or
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah, no, those are some of the stories that we were going to talk about today. So one thing we can do without needing to do that also is talk about the Andromeda Deauther. So a lot of you know Stefan from his Deauther project, which is basically like it's been in so many iterations now that it's very, very like well known. There's the Deauther wristwatch. There's the like Deauther from our friend Jaunty. So there's just like so many different iterations of this that a lot of people have encountered your hardware with or your software without even really like knowing about it. But now you're making your own unique hardware, and it is kind of a struggle to scale it up. And for anybody who's considering making their own hardware products or just wants to know what it's like to take something like the Deauther and then try to make like your own version of it, can you explain a little bit about what it's been like to try to make? How many did you make recently? Like 40 something of them or more?
110.
110.
Yeah, it took a couple of days. Maybe I can show you. This is like if you order from our store, this is what you get if you order an Andromeda board. We have a little thank you card. I'm showing this so you like get an idea of all the detail. You get a sticker. I'm just gonna leave that in the box. Then of course the stuff extra, all that packaging, putting the logos on there, all the packaging, everything is also a lot of work if you have to do it 110 times. And then of course the board itself. And this is, you have components on both sides, a lot of components, a lot of tiny components, and then other components that you cannot put in a reflow oven like the antenna connector, but is very easy to solder on, not straight. You want this to be, otherwise it will just look ridiculous with the antenna on. And soldering on these pins for the antenna, for example, is also kind of a hassle because the entire antenna connector is a giant heatsink, basically. So yes. It's a lot of work. We get the PCBs in these panels. Oh, wait, you can see it in the background of my green screen. We get them in these panels, right? And so I have a pick and place machine now. I talked a little bit about that last time. That places all the tiny SMD components on here. But then this is just one side. It places the components. I put them in the oven. If that's done, and it will never be done completely 100% right. At least on some panels, there will be some stuff that I have to fix manually, and that can take a lot of time too, depending on how nasty the issue is. Then, of course, I have to break them apart. I have to take a bit of sandpaper and smooth the edges. I have to place the other side manually. I have to put each individual board in the reflow oven. And then, as I said, the antenna connector, I have to clean it in the end. I have to package it. I have to put it in the boxes. I have to put it in the store. I have to deal with taxes and fun EU regulations. It's quite a hassle, and every time I assemble these, I'm thinking that I probably undersell them for the price. Like I should take more money for it for the work I put in right now. But on the other side, we cannot compete with China. If you want, and like I always say this, like if you want, you can buy a cheap BMOS board for a couple of bucks from China and flash the project yourself. That's fine. What we offer you is like a kind of special thing with hardware that was made specifically for this project. And with the antenna, it's kind of like a package that you cannot buy otherwise. And you also support me and my company now, so we can make more projects like this and continue this. But yeah, it's quite a journey, and I hope to be able to scale it up a bit better in the future.
Yeah, this has gone from, an initial software design all the way through like multiple other people having their own take on what the hardware implementation is, all the way through, you deciding what like your own prototype would look like. So it's kind of cool to see something that started out as like a side project, then eventually kind of turn into something that is your own take on your own software, after getting to see other people try out a bunch of different things. So it's pretty cool that also you got to see other people make some mistakes before making your move. Because I feel like it's probably interesting to see like which versions of the Deauther have sold better than other ones over time. Just having had so many of them made, because I remember there were just multiple kids in my like electrical engineering class who had like the Deauther wristband, and like immediately, like when I started talking about it, like recognized the chicken sticker, and it was just really interesting how far of a
Yeah.
reach the Deauther has had.
Yeah, the sticker too. I mean, this is something I thought people keep asking about us selling sticker packs. Right now, how we handle this is we put a sticker with each product we sell. And we have different sticker designs for each product on the store. So that when you see someone with the sticker, they like know this project and they have a product, or they have a Deauther or something. That's kind of the deal. If I would just sell stickers, I fear that the value of these is like there's going to be an inflation, and yeah. So I think that's kind of makes it a bit special.
Yeah, and also I think you would spend your whole day needing to go and ship chicken stickers, which might not be how you want to be spending your time.
Yeah, and it's not really making it wouldn't make much money unless we set a really high price and then no one wants to buy it and everyone complains too, so that won't be worth it either.
Ah, yes. So Zam also mentioned that if you're in the US, there's a link to buy the Deauther on hack.gay, and if you're in the EU, you can pick one up on deauther.store or spacemoon.store.
Spacemoon.store.
Ah, so you
Yeah.
haven't gotten deauther.store like our friend Jonty has for his.
He got Malduino.com.
And Meltronics.com, just in case you forget, you get confused by his branding. But yeah, cool. So it's also great to see that that is in stock again, because there was
Yeah,
a waiting
finally.
list, I think, of how many people that like had signed up to buy it as soon as you ran out.
54 people requesting 78 the offers.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's super cool. And someone's also asking if I've patched my laptop with the Space Chicken, and I'll just say yes. There's one there. I think there's like a classic one like further down right there. There's multiple chickens on this laptop. Some of them peeking out, and I think I have like a lady hoon, which is like a special version that has like high heels, and also like a Spanish hoon, which I believe has a sombrero.
Yeah. Yeah, those are limited editions.
I see you have a pirate hoon behind you as well, which is also a limited edition.
Yeah. And I don't have one I can show you right now, but we have the Pirate Hoon in Holo. So it's like very
Ah,
shiny.
I like that. The hollow stickers are always the best. Um, all right, so I think one thing I wanted to show off also, if do you have anything else you want to talk about with the Deauther?
I think we went through everything.
Yeah, if you have any questions about it as well, feel free to shout them out in the chat. Before you guys ask, because it's always a question, no, this hardware does not support hacking on 5 gigahertz networks, so unfortunately that is something that it cannot do. But the point of this design is that it basically, oh yeah, I have one right here, is you can basically attach, using the little mount right here, basically any sort of directional antenna that you want, and that gives you the ability to get a really good directional range. You can use it for signal hunting, you can use it for basically like any sort of like directional activity. That could be long range communication where you're attacking something far away, or it could be just like finding out which one of your neighbors has been stealing your Wi-Fi. Either one is totally possible because Stefan also added the Fox Hunter update, which lets you monitor the RSSI, the signal strength basically of any device, so you can tell when you're getting closer or further away. This comes with an omnidirectional antenna, but you could also attach any directional antenna. I like to attach like a really giant Yagi antenna, and it works quite well. Although with some antennas, you also need to get one of these tiny, annoying little adapters. This one's like a female to male with like a male inside on both sides adapter. There's so many like little like nuances with these little like SMA. Or what kind
Yeah,
of, what's the technical term for these adapters?
SMA,
Yeah.
SMA something.
Yeah, like SMA something. But these little adapters can make it so that you can mount basically any antenna that you can find, like from Alpha Wireless or whatever else on this. We found that. Ouch. Well, my computer just completely died, so I don't think Stefan can hear me anymore. So Michael might need to tell Stefan in the chat, if he can't hear me, to take the cake while my computer... It just did the Mac equivalent of a blue screen and made a horrible shrieking noise in my ears. Cool. Well, at least it restarted finally. It was hung for
Am I alone
like,
in
a
the
really
stream
long
now?
time. Sorry, go on, Stefan.
Because Cody's gone. His
If you
laptop
don't
crashed. Alright, cool. Or not, because I do not have much to tell you about. Kody was talking about antennas. So these are the SMA connectors where he was talking about, and of course it comes with an antenna, but depending on the manufacturer of the antenna, they might have a slightly different... They have either a pin inside here or not, and depending on that, it will have a connection or fit on that port or not. And I noticed that the Alpha wireless antennas have a different connector than most standard Wi-Fi antennas you can buy. So for those, you might need a little adapter you can find on the internet. Oh no.
Oh, well, Stefan should be talking. Why is Stefan not talking? I still have to start OBS, so I can't say anything. I can't hear anything. I can't see anything. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm back. Wait, Stefan, have you been sitting in dead-ass silence the entire time?
I cannot hear you for some reason,
Wait,
but I can see
no,
you.
now I can't hear Stefan. Ah. I'm so sorry. Wait. Oh, it's because I... No. I can still hear, supposedly. Well, I can't hear Stefan, but you can probably hear me. Stefan, if you don't mind talking a little bit while I restart my OBS. Oh, no, wait, I'm back. Okay, can you hear me, Stefan? Everyone could hear me the entire time. It's just whether or not Stefan and I can really communicate. But I can hear Stefan, so I guess I'll just continue talking, and he'll figure out eventually what's going on. Sorry, everyone. It seems like my MacBook Pro really doesn't want to do the stream today. But the good news is that I'm going to get access to an entirely new computer starting next week. I guess I'll just try refreshing this. But yeah, so sorry for the situation. Stefan, can you hear me now?
Ah, yeah, now I can hear you.
Great. Now I just have to do everything all over again.
What just happened? Your computer crashed?
My computer blue screened, and I wasn't aware that it was going to be dead silence. I thought maybe the conversation would go on a little bit. But hello, everyone. We're back. Yeah, so my computer completely blue screened, and Stefan couldn't hear me. I couldn't hear him, so we are back. Stefan, what was the last thing you said before lapsing into apparently utter silence?
We were talking about antennas, and then you went away, and I just continued talking for a bit, and I think I talked over you because you were still live, but whatever happened, I was just saying that Most like standard Wi-Fi antennas fit on the Andromeda board, but I noticed that the Alpha Wireless antennas, they use a slightly different connector, so you need an adapter.
Whew. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I found this as well. Okay. So let's go into a couple of the things that I wanted to talk about. One of them was our friend Marcus. If you switch to my screen, if it works, I don't know about this MacBook Pro anymore, our friend Marcus is reporting that there is a public proof of concept floating around for the full remote command injection exploit chain. So it isn't a perfect exploit, but with a little bit of fixing, it seems like it is possible to be able to get a shell on a vulnerable box. So this is very likely why we're seeing the ransomware and stuff. So, the fact that this public proof of concept is out there is really a good sign that the worst is yet to come on this whole exchange vulnerability thing. So yeah, very interesting to see some independent researchers confirming that this is out there. And also that Marcus is working on a proxy login exploit payload honeypot, so he can start seeing what kind of people are scanning for web shells and whether or not they're dropping anything interesting. So it seems like this attack is still very much ongoing, and it's interesting to see what happens next as these proof of concepts become more available for basically anybody who's looking to do some bad stuff. So a really interesting chain of events that is definitely worth following, because as Zam was mentioning in the chat, he's starting to see ransomware that's based on this exploit chain in the wild. So clearly people are passing this around, modifying it, using for various things. This is no longer something that people can ignore when it comes to patching or updating. Another thing we've got going on is a bunch of outages in Russia. And if you've ever used regular expressions, you know that it's easy to get wrong. And it seems like in an attempt to punish Twitter, Russia ended up doing a bad match. So they were trying to block Twitter's t.co link shortener in Russia, but instead they blocked all domains that contain t.cos, like Microsoft.com or Reddit.com. So it caused a huge slowdown in just general internet traffic in Russia, and definitely backfired on the people who tried to do this. So again, if you've ever used regular expressions before, it can be tough. And I have very little sympathy for the government censors that tried to use them, but at the same time, it always hurts to see a regular expression fail like this, especially when it shuts down the entire internet. Or slows down the entire internet, I guess would be a better thing to say. So, all right. So one thing I've been covering on a continuing basis is the fallout from the Parler hack and also the Gab hack as well. So there was a lot of press around the researchers who started working on these exploits or otherwise conducted them, and now it looks like Twitter has started suspending them. So Tilly Notman's account, one of the ones that was involved in the more recent security camera disclosure, which we'll get to in a little bit. It was the Verkada. I still don't know how to pronounce the company's name, but it was a major security camera vendor that basically had super admin access for random people in the company. It was something that they never disclosed to their customers. It was explicitly said like, hey, don't tell our customers that we can see all of their cameras. But in fact, like, people were able to find credentials on the internet that had access to this super user mode, which was very alarming for a lot of companies that did business with them. So, I mean, this is one of those cases where you have a company doing something they don't tell their customers about that exposes them to risks that they don't even know about. And when this is, again, just my personal opinion, if you have like security cameras in your facilities and stuff that a hacker could gain access to, because a hacker did gain access to them, then you have a situation where like there was a threat you didn't know about that somebody brought to your attention. That, in my opinion, overall, for the state of security and the state of these companies is a good thing. But Twitter, again, has suspended the account of the researcher that went ahead and disclosed this information for distributing hacked material. Or I think there was another incident where she said something about like killing Parler, which is not a person. But Twitter considered that to be an act, like a stated act of violence, even though Parler is not a person upon which violence can be acted upon. So Twitter, I feel like, is under a lot of pressure to suspend or otherwise like shut down the accounts of people who are distributing this kind of information. But Twitter's also a very a very comfortable space for the security community. A lot of people like connect on Twitter, and it's somewhere that a lot of hackers communicate or like otherwise kind of like exchange tradecraft or like talk about the security stuff that's going on. So to see individual researchers targeted, admittedly, a lot of this stuff goes well beyond what somebody who does this for a job in like, you know, I don't know, like a bug crowd or something would do. There would be a different way of disclosing this. But for people that are looking to find really big problems with major companies and in the most dramatic way possible, alert people to what these companies are doing wrong that could be putting them at risk without even knowing. Like, I have to say, like, it kind of sucks that your company had a giant secret that like endangered all of your customers. Like, you know, I feel like, yeah, maybe, you know, maybe don't log into accounts you shouldn't log into, for sure. Like, I get that side. But also, what about that super user mode that endangered all your customers that like someone who didn't even do this like for money was able to use to spy on major companies like Tesla? Like, that's like something that could be used for, I don't know, espionage or other things these companies are very concerned about. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, ignorance doesn't solve anything. And now being aware that this is, you know, a risk that these companies take on by having these cameras in their facilities, I think contributes to the net good. And it kind of sucks to see Twitter suspending researchers for doing their research. There's probably going to be a lot of back and forth on this because, again, this was not done according to the standard guidelines of responsible disclosure if you do this for work or if you work at Bugcrowd or something like that. But at the same time, like, this was a very big problem that was exposed and, I have to say, resolved relatively quickly because of the amount of press that has been directed towards it. So pretty shocking that this was something in the first place that was even allowed to happen. But posting credentials that give people super user access to like every one of your customers' cameras by accident on the internet, it's just one of those teeny tiny little mistakes that could lead to something much more serious for your customers. So I will leave my thoughts there. Sorry that I have to unroll my Twitter in front of you guys. It's very sad. But we're back on this since my whole preparation has been nuked. So one thing I wanted to point out, a lot of people don't realize that having your Wi-Fi on is not just a matter of people tracking you by like spying on your phone. There are a couple people who are being charged in the Capitol attack who are basically being charged via the request that their phones made to a Google API containing the Wi-Fi names around them that gave a specific location. So if your phone has Wi-Fi on, then if you have an Android phone or an iPhone, it is constantly sending data to an API attempting to geolocate where you are based on the known location of the networks around you. So if you think that, you know, you turn off GPS and like nobody knows where you are, in fact, your phone is logging your position to a Google API that the FBI can obviously request. So just be aware you're being tracked every single second your Wi-Fi is on. Because these sorts of requests are how your phone provides services. It gets around the fact that GPS actually takes a really long time to acquire a fix sometimes, especially if you're like in a dense city where the signal's bouncing around or difficult to read. So this is just a background process that if you don't explicitly make sure it's not running and logging, can be used to come back and bite you if you bring your phone along on some misadventure that later on you regret, as obviously these people, Jared Adams specifically, did. And you can see in the screenshot here, there's a bit of an uncertainty radius that comes from the result of querying an API to try to get a location. But this is actually, you know, what looks like this is the geofence of where the information they're looking for. And these are pings from cell phones inside this area submitting known Wi-Fi networks that are, you know, in this building as their current position and getting a fix back that's basically trilateralized between the different points. So, you know, it gives an area of uncertainty, meaning they were somewhere within the circle during the time that their cell phone pinged this API. But, you know, because of the way that location services works, this is something that your phone is doing, and it is definitely something that the government, the FBI, or whatever else can track. So just be aware that Wi-Fi works both ways. People can read the signal and like war drive you, or your phone can war drive and send that data to an API, and that will give someone your location in a way that can be subpoenaed or otherwise requested. So pretty spooky. I don't know if everyone remembers that. Stefan, did you remember that?
The you mean that your phone is leaking your location
Yes.
over Wi-Fi? Yeah, and you sometimes, or in some phones, turning off Wi-Fi doesn't even help.
No, it doesn't.
because it's often linked to the Bluetooth chip. And so if you have, for example, Bluetooth on, it's still doing that. And sometimes you have to go into airplane mode to avoid it. Or even if you have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi off, if you have location services on for GPS, it still does it because it's using Wi-Fi and Bluetooth as a what's it called? Assisted GPS
Yes.
or assisted location. Yeah, so you basically like if you want to avoid that, you have to go and basically go all airplane mode.
Yeah, so we did an
Not really
experiment where we
sure.
took Android phones down into the storm drains in Los Angeles, where it was a complete radio silence, and we tried shutting down each one of their features, and then ran Wireshark to see if there was any like Wi-Fi activity in the area, and it continued even when we put it in airplane mode. It continued to emit packets and run scans until we disabled the location features. So it was really shocking to know that you can think that you're turning off like all of your settings, your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, and still your phone will automatically turn it back on to conduct a Wi-Fi scan, which does emit packets. It lets people know where you are. It lets people know you're there, and then send that data back to an API to try to figure out where you are, even if you explicitly disable those radios. So that shocked me because like I didn't know that my phone basically like presented a menu that looked like I was disabling stuff, but it wasn't actually. And that also that could have very serious repercussions for privacy.
Yeah, if you turn off Wi-Fi, it's more like disabling the internet connection over Wi-Fi, but it's not disabling the physical radio on your phone. It's still doing a bunch of stuff in the background, and it's trying to do that to be more user-friendly. So if you open the settings, for example, you instantly have a list of, and an accurate list of the networks nearby. That is because it was scanning the entire time. You know, it's not because that's how Wi-Fi works. If it was actually off, it would have taken a couple of seconds or maybe half a minute before it has a good and accurate list. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go back to the chat for a second. I want to see if any questions have come up. And of course, mine is still broken. But if you guys have any questions about any of these topics, or again, the Andromeda Deauther, we're also happy.
I have a question.
Yes.
Zam, you didn't message me.
Oh, are you sending him another Andromeda? Because I already sent him one. Did he tell you he didn't get one? Because that would be a lie.
To be fair, I totally forgot until today, but Zam said he's going to think about names because we talked about rebranding last time. And Zam, where are the names?
So we still definitely need a new name for the Andromeda Deauther that's going to come after this, so like the new version. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, I would love to also hear those in the chat. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just being handed. Oh, look, I've got another computer, you guys. And it also has a giant chicken on it. So this is our production laptop. How nice. So now I can actually see the chat. And also someone says, time to buy a mini Faraday cage. Yes, that would definitely help. If you want to... Actually, I was kind of amazed because when I went to DEF CON, there was a couple people who were just giving out like paper sleeves for like, you know, your like credit cards or NFC cards and stuff. And they actually worked super well because we tested them and like, they were great. So little things like that, maybe not a bad idea. Or maybe like if you don't want your phone reporting on you and you also don't mind that you won't get phone calls for a while, then that could be an option. But again, it's kind of annoying to just be kicked off of like.
Do these exist like phone cases that
Faraday
work
phone cases?
like? Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Should buy one.
I mean, again though, it like disables the main function of your phone, which is like to provide communication with you. All right, so let's go ahead and switch over to my screen, where this is just if you guys want to follow up on the attack we talked about Verkada, however you pronounce this company's name, you can read more about it here, which is talking about how there were like literally 20-year-old interns who had access to 100,000 security cameras and could view all of their feeds globally, according to a senior level employee. So this is like quite a write-up about what happened, but also it's interesting to note what happens to the security researchers who disclose this, notably being suspended from Twitter. I also want to point out, I got this email recently, and this, Stefan, I don't know if I showed this to you. this is a Pfizer vaccine survey. Right now, we're offering a rewards program to adults who offer their opinion about Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. I could win free rewards, free to take the survey. Why would you pay to take a survey? Provides valuable customer data. To who? So this was from welcome@benjaminract@hotmail.com, which I'm always flattered to get official Pfizer information from my good friend at hotmail.com. And then this was sent to Kody@AOL.com, just like my first name at AOL.com, and carbon copied to Kody@AOL.com. This is not my email address. So my email address does not appear anywhere here. I must have been like BCC'd on this, along with a list of like probably 1,000 other nonsense email addresses. But like, you know, I always pop this into VirusTotal because like you never know, is this like a zero-day exploit to try to like pop people's browsers with an infected web page? Is this something that's just going to take my information and try to use it for a social engineering attack? You never know. But it seems like we're still doing this. We're still getting like phishing attacks related to COVID-19. Please do not fall for these. I mean, like it would kind of seem like it would be more enticing to pretend like maybe I would get the vaccine if I took this or something. Like, I don't mean to give people ideas. I'm just saying this is like a pretty lame phishing page, and like I was not excited to receive it. So everybody be vigilant. There's probably versions of this that are a lot more compelling and a lot more realistic, but just like some common sense things like looking at the source or like looking at some other big red flags. Like, okay, like one thing is if you hover over this URL, like you get some like whack URL that goes through like 3 different forwarders before landing on like what's obviously a compromised domain. And then also like the fact that it's like sent to 2 email addresses that aren't mine, which by the way are exactly the same, and then also is sent from a Hotmail email address, should all probably tip me off to the fact that this is not a legitimate email. But any one of those things could really be like the one giveaway in a more complicated or better engineered phishing email. So I just want to say, like, whoever did this is a terrible person, even though this was so bad that it stood no chance of succeeding. So don't get tricked. Also, for anybody who has a Mac OS system that is functioning, unlike my bad boy right here, you can install Knock Knock, which is also very similar to what I just had to do to restart my computer, which will allow you to look for programs that automatically start on your Mac OS system. So Patrick Wardle is somebody who makes tools that basically are able to look for suspicious behavior rather than looking for like virus signatures. So if you are looking to have some security on a macOS system that is able to catch novel things that have never been seen before, his stuff is absolutely the best because it creates a layered defense that allows you to see, hey, I have something that's suddenly starting every time I start my computer and capturing my keystrokes. I wonder what this could be. Perhaps a keylogger. Or I have something that's automatically starting my microphone. What could that be? You know, there's Patrick Wardle's tools are great because, for example, I have a little notification that pops up anytime a program activates my microphone or my camera. For the camera, you know, it's kind of whatever because I can already, the Mac OS system already has a light that turns on when the camera is physically on, and you can't disable that because it's in the firmware. But you don't get any notification normally when the microphone turns on, which in my opinion is a much more useful thing to do. So, you know, like this creates the ability to have multiple different layers of detection for bad behavior for something that could be, you know, a malicious program. I use this on my own system just to make sure that nothing is running persistently that shouldn't be there. And also this allows you to just click on like more info, or you can click on VirusTotal, and it will actually take the hash of the binary that's doing this, run it by VirusTotal, and tell you if it's recognized. So this is a good way to be able to see if there is an active malware sample on your system, because first you'll be able to know if it's there, and second you'll be able to submit it to a service like VirusTotal to be able to check really quickly and see if it's a known piece of malware. So highly recommend Patrick Wardle's tools if you have a macOS system. Highly recommend you don't have a macOS system. But regardless, if you do, then, you know, Patrick Wardle's tools are your best chance at preventing it from doing the thing that it just did in my ear, which was remarkably similar to a scream. So just want to show you guys how I think I might have mentioned that I got a drone not that long ago, and this is what I immediately did with it. I crashed it into a tree and almost into a lake. So the Chinese AI inside this thing refused to die for my hubris and decided that it wasn't going into the water and basically took full control over it. But if you want to know what the experience is like of being a hacker with a drone, the first thing you're going to do is fly it into a tree at 35 miles per hour. So fortunately, this little thing did survive to drone again. You can see I used it at the same lake slightly later, and it seemed to be flying just fine. But yeah, I did my best to destroy this thing within about 3 days of acquiring it. So we're going to be trying to do some more interesting stuff. I've been bothering my friend Stefan to see if he might be able to make a logging feature so I could do some rudimentary war driving by strapping a D1 Mini onto this thing and flying it around. But unfortunately, he responded with only lukewarm interest.
Wow, throwing me under the bus like that.
So if anybody on the stream is interested in the Deauther having, for example, a logging capability, so it could start up and then run a command and log the data to an SD card so you could use it as like a drone payload, please feel free to pressure Stefan in the comments because it is something I really, really want to do. And I mentioned earlier that someone that made a security tool, Radar Eye, or I apologize if I'm not pronouncing it properly, but the developer of this tool saw that we mentioned it on our stream and reached out, and that was super, super cool. So, oh, I also have Signal open. Sorry. But yeah, so that was really, really cool to see one of the developers acknowledge that, hey, like, we actually saw you, like, give us a shout out and we appreciate it. So I'm going to try to do more shout outs on the stream. Although all the tools I had prepared to shout out today are now gone, and I will have to go back and find them again. So sorry about that. But yeah, very cool. And I very much appreciate the shout out to the shout out because it's nice to know that people are appreciative of us mentioning their tools. I actually, like, after shouting out, Stefan, I told you this, but after shouting out the new Creality 3D printer, the 3D print mill, after I purchased one off of Kickstarter because I really wanted to support the project, I was blocked by the creator of that project. So yeah. I still don't know why because I've never spoken to her. So I think that maybe some people don't appreciate us shouting out their project on the show, but you never know. So every time we get feedback that people do appreciate it, it encourages me to do it more. So I probably won't be mentioning the printer again, just so I don't get double blocked, I guess. But I will be mentioning some other security tools that we see that we think are interesting. So thank you for the feedback on that. And if you have any security tools that you want to mention, or that you want me to try, one thing I have to say is there's an ongoing APT campaign to exploit researchers by trying to get them to go to an infected website. It's just this whole thing that a lot of people have been briefed on if you work in security research. So I am very sorry if I'm not going to go to your whack WordPress page to read your article you wrote about this weird proof of concept you want my help with, because that's actually a campaign by North Korea to try to find zero-day exploits by breaking into security researchers' computers. So while I love to hear about new tools to check out, I typically want to see a couple things, and one of them is do you have a proof of concept? Is your tool on GitHub? Does it have documentation? And do other security researchers use this? Do a lot of people follow it? Does it have a ton of issues that are open? So if you have any tools you think that I should check out on the show or that we might want to feature, please let us know, but just understand if it's hosted on a WordPress site or if it has 0 people that have ever used it, then I probably will not run it. Maybe on this macOS system as punishment, but I probably will not run it on a system that I intend to keep or use. So yes. Thank you very much to everybody who's been giving suggestions. I was told that I should get a Pine 64 and try that out. I tried to buy it on Amazon and it's not there, so I'm still trying to find out where to buy one, but I'm going to also be trying out some other suggestions that people have shouted out in the stream because we've got some really excellent ones, especially some ones that are kind of around more of a blue team perspective. I think Zam was recommending we do one on tracking down a rogue device that's been popping up by one of the venues that he owns. So it would be really interesting to see if we could do an episode on something that's a little bit more blue team or something that might happen to common people, hey, how do we find if someone's stealing our internet and prove it as well as track down the device that's doing it. So if you guys are interested in that sort of thing, then please make sure to shout out and let us know. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'm also just checking the chat to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, cool. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I had a bunch of other stuff I was also going to show off, but unfortunately, again, it's kind of been erased. So I'm going to open this up to questions and see if anybody has any other things they want to talk about on the stream today, because the Microsoft Exchange attack has honestly taken up so much of our time, both at Varonis, like talking about various things that you can do to fix it. We had Killian come on as kind of like almost an emergency measure on our Wednesday stream to just talk about like how serious this attack is and how you can check to see if you're vulnerable to it. It's taken up a lot of time. Just because, again, there are tens of thousands of victims just in the United States, and a lot of these victims are only slowly beginning to realize that they've been attacked. So I'm glad we also got to talk about the Deauther a little bit, because, yeah, it makes me sad to hear just like bad news all day. And Zam says we can get a Pine book from their website. I guess I can't buy one. I wanted to buy one off of Amazon live on the stream if I really could, but I'm not typing my credit card details on the stream, so you guys, I guess, have to wait. One question was, do we have any suggestions for tools for zero-day development for web apps only? I don't do a lot of web application pen testing, but generally we've done a couple things on like Burp Suite or Postman. That allow you to start looking at web applications and start figuring out how they work. Now, zero day is a very general term. If you're talking about something that's like broken in like the protocol it uses, that's like a much bigger deal than just breaking a specific web application that maybe has a vulnerability in the way that it runs. But yeah, I would recommend, like, if you want to get started in that sort of thing, Burp Suite or Postman are both great ways to get started. And you can, I think we're going to do a stream, another stream on maybe Android Studio, or like being able to do some hacking on vulnerable Android applications, which is like kind of similar and a good way to get started using some of the same tools. Let's see. Oh, yes, I've been presented with a computer containing another article. So this relates to the campaign that I just mentioned. This is a North Korean campaign, and we've actually mentioned this before, that was targeted at security researchers. And basically, like, what they did here was they created a fake security group, complete with like a blog publishing like security articles and stuff like that. And they even like paid real security experts to write for that blog. So this was like quite an extensive operation, and they went really far out of their way to try to like maybe make it so somebody would think that this was real and share it with their friends. And it would get a lot of like internal confidence within the security community so that it would spread organically rather than having to target people. This is kind of called like a watering hole attack, but in this case, they created a watering hole rather than attacking an existing one. So after doing this, then they had members of this group reach out to other security researchers and say, hey, I have this proof of concept exploit code, and give them infected binaries in an effort to kind of expand their hold over these people's systems and try to look for 0 days that could be weaponized for presumably North Korea's various ends. And what's really cool is, or rather very nefarious, is that this attack was super successful against a lot of different researchers, because it was a combination watering hole social engineering attack that had that abused a lot of the aspects of like hacker culture, where we like collaborating, we like sharing, we like teaching. And these people were able to lure security researchers to a website that had a Chrome 0 day that would allow them to take control of their computer. Or in some cases, they actually targeted via direct message and then gave them a proof of concept that was an infected, like Virtual Basic, I think it was, file that would infect their computer and allow the North Korean hackers to dig further and try to find one of these valuable 0 days or proof of concepts they could weaponize and use. So that's why I don't run every tool people give me anymore, just because we have been targeted as a group of security researchers, and I got to be really careful now because a lot of the direct messages I have don't really seem legit and seem like they might lead to a website like this. So it's very scary knowing that even going to one of these infected blogs can infect your computer because they're using browser 0 days in this exploit chain. So if you're in the security space, if you're a hacker, if you're like open about this on Twitter, just be aware that there are some of these campaigns out there that are sponsored by nation states, and it's kind of interesting that some of the exploits that were used in this attack were just patched this month, even though this attack was detected several months ago. So these attacks were still able to be effective all the way up until currently, like this month. So that was pretty creepy. But yeah, so that's kind of it when it comes to the news, I believe, unless I'm going to be handed another laptop with more news stories. I love how our production assistant has kicked into high gear today and is like compensating for my failed computer. But again, I'm going to have new hardware starting Monday, so this is why. Oh, look at this. Another news article delivered to me on a MacBook Pro. So it looks like...
How many laptops do you need for this stream?
Oh, actually, sorry, this is the exact same story, so that's okay. It's the same zero-day that was targeting security researchers and infecting them that was also patched this month, but still, good to note. One question was, what about a video of hacking on the ThinkPad X1 Fold? Stefan, do you know what that is?
Yeah, that's a new foldable laptop from Lenovo.
The world's first foldable laptop. How does it fold though? Oh, so wait. So no, sorry, I don't understand again.
It's like the Galaxy Fold, just like huge. It's just like scaled up. That's pretty much it.
I'm okay.
I don't know, I haven't paid too much attention to it because I find this ridiculous.
All right, I'm looking. Let's switch over to my screen for a second and just look at this. Look at this. So you mean to tell me that the keyboard is a screen? Is that what's happening here? I'm trying so hard to understand what's happening here. It looks like it's, okay, if you flip it like that and you unfold it, then you need to buy an accessory. And but if you, in a rage, just close it the way you did something like, I don't know, like a normal laptop perhaps, then, okay, so it closes like this. Sorry, this is like blowing my mind. Wait, oh no, it does have a key. It has a key. No, it's a fake keyboard. I got lied to. The keyboard's a lie. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, if Lenovo gives me one of these, you better believe I'll do a stream on it. Like, could you imagine though, like it just glitching out so the entire keyboard just blue screens, so your entire screen is blue? Wow, look at these very serious Space Force people. Is this the official laptop of Space Force, and do they all have to wear turtlenecks? What is it? Is it easy to look at a screen that's bent like this? Like, whatever. Thank you, Zam, for bringing this to my attention. I had no idea this product existed. I'm still processing it, as you can see. But we will let you know. I have gotten companies to send me hardware before to cover on the show. So if I could get ThinkPad, or well, if I could get Lenovo to finally respond, why is this computer only used in space? I'm sorry, you guys. I don't think I worked.
They're so futuristic.
I don't launch any rockets or do anything that would seem to be required to afford
But if
this computer.
if you could, you would do it with that laptop.
I guess I would have to. I mean, it looks like that's the primary use case for this computer.
Yeah, if not, you would be the outsider. Everyone else has it.
I'm sorry, you guys. This is taking such a long time to process. I don't understand the marketing of folding screens, but you know, like maybe I'll try this and it'll be my favorite thing I've ever tried in my entire life. I guess we'll see. Thank you to Zam for letting this be my new like pandemic depression goal to get one of these ridiculous folding computers, because that would be interesting. But I mean, we've been wanting to do like a laptop for cybersecurity or a laptop for ethical hacking series a long time now. I have also been wanting to get free computers to try out for that series for a long time now. So perhaps as the stream continues to get bigger and we're now over 10,000 subscribers, we'll be able to swing that and actually get somebody to send us some hardware to test, because I would love to show you guys how these different computers stack up to doing various demanding things that you might expect to be doing while hacking. The ThinkPad Fold looks, again, like it's primarily, I guess, used in space. All of their marketing shows it being used either by like launch control or in space. So provided that they're not only giving it to like space-based companies, then perhaps I will try to do that. And a couple people also keep asking about if I know any good books for pen testing or hacking. I just like to generally refer people to No Starch Press. Generally does a really good job with publishing great books on ethical hacking and cybersecurity. I'm also supposed to write a book for them at some point. Yikes, I got to do that. But yeah, so I really, really like the work that they put out. I've read a bunch of really good books by them. And I think that, yeah, if you're looking for good cybersecurity or ethical hacking books to get started, then No Starch Press is a pretty good way to go. Yeah. I think that's going to do it for our time today. Sorry for the issues on our stream today. It seems like every time we have a stream the last couple weeks, we have either our internet go out or one of our devices fail, but we've replaced our router and now I'm replacing my computer. So next time it'll be a fire. We'll see what happens. But anyway,
Cool.
sorry, I don't want to jinx that. My production person just got very upset that I made that joke. No fires. We have a fire extinguisher, but still, no fires. So, all right, you guys, we will see you next time on Tuesday well, I think we're probably going to do a stream with Nick, who we haven't seen in a while, who you might also know as my co-host on Nullbyte. So if you want to catch that, make sure to be on the stream on Tuesday. And then, yeah, we will see you guys then. Stefan, thank you for vamping for me for as long as my computer was blue screened. And also, thank you for talking about the Deauther project.
Of course.
All right, you guys,
All
thanks.
right.
Thank you for sticking with us. If you want to check out more great Verona's content, you can also take a look at the Verona's brand channel, where we also have Killian on, who again was on Wednesday. And you can go into a deeper dive on some of these threat updates, where we have analysts who are actually dealing with the customers who are being hit by these vulnerabilities or these attacks come on and talk about what's actually happening and what's happening behind the scenes and how you can keep yourself safe. It's a super interesting series if you're interested in what these really big attacks look like. So if you want to check that out, that's on the Verona's brand channel. If you want to subscribe, make sure to go on the SecurityFWD channel. We love to see more subscribers. It lets us get more money to do more interesting stuff. So if you want to support us, make sure to subscribe. Share this with your friends that like hacking stuff. And we hope to see more of you all on the stream. Oh, and then also check out our next crossover, which I think we're doing on the 17th on Nullbyte. So we're going to do another Nullbyte episode with Killian. So if you want to see what the chat looks like, supercharged with like 1,000 people, then be on the stream on the 17th and you'll see it then. So thank you guys for hanging with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.